Hi guys, it's Matt back with Vid of the Week, fresh from sunny South Africa, which was lovely by the way. If anybody's not been on a safari and you like animals and stuff like that, I definitely recommend it. It was amazing, really, pretty out of this world experience, but we're back now and we're back with a bang, so it's been a good week. This week, we're talking about privacy, data privacy, and why is because Microsoft are finally starting the rollout of their recall feature. Now, if you don't know what this is, recall was met and dubbed a privacy nightmare by lots of people when it was unveiled last year, because it essentially takes screenshots of everything you're doing on your machine, absolutely everything, and it's been dubbed by Microsoft as a way of people being able to go back through the history. If you were doing some online shopping or you'd seen a pair of shoes you like, something like that, and then you've forgotten about them, you can easily go back and recall what you were doing at the time, find out where it was and go and get it. So pretty useful feature, lots of reasons it can be useful. However, privacy nightmare because of all these screenshots and stuff being stored on your computers. Should criminals, cyber gangs, anything like that get access to your machines, potentially they can go through your history and find out some information, find out what you've been doing, what you've been up to, potentially, steal credentials, look at very, very private information, stuff that, would be a GDPR nightmare, all that sort of stuff. Now, Microsoft insist this is now a sort of opt-in feature rather than when they first announced it. I think it was an opt-out feature at that point. However, it doesn't solve the question of if something does get on your machine, somebody does take over it without your knowledge, they could enable it and you wouldn't necessarily know. And then they could sit there, wait, keep checking, wait for that time where either they can do the traditional stealing your credentials, get into your accounts, right through to the much more serious stuff such as extortion, blackmail, threats. We've all seen the stuff. I'm sure we've all had emails about, well, we've got X, we've got Y, we're going to release it to the world if you don't pay us this in Bitcoin or that in Bitcoin. What recall does, or what the potential of recall can do, is give people access to a bigger trove of that type of information that could really be quite dangerous. So with recall rolling out across the US and the EU, rest of the EU and the UK, by the end of 2025, it's more important than ever that you've got up-to-date protection. It's more important than ever that you've got the right detection tools in place to make sure that if something's going on that shouldn't be going on, particularly on machines and devices that you use at work and personally, that they're protected. If you've got a decent provider that uses decent technology and software to protect you and your business, then great. There should be solutions coming out for this. There's simple ways of checking whether this feature's on or off, and those are things I expect to come very shortly with the release of recall. However, if you're not with a decent provider, if they don't use decent software, decent protections to keep you safe, then this is something that you really need to speak to them about. You need to make sure that you're really being looked after in that sense. If anybody's got any questions about this, drop me a note. I'm more than happy to have a chat with you about it. It's it's a fantastic tool potentially, but it's also a nightmare potentially. So don't get caught out. It's not here in the UK yet, so best prepare yourself now before something happens. And I'll see you next week.